Hi, and welcome to another episode of What's Up, Doc, a health and wellness show dedicated to taking you through the world of medicine and healthcare. My name is Dr. Aalia Al-Barwani, and I'm a board-certified family physician. My show, What's Up, Doc, is a production of Muslim Network TV, which is the only Muslim-focused network broadcasting in North America. You can watch us on Apple TV, Roku TV, Fire TV, and Samsung Galaxy 19. Muslim Network TV streams live almost every day, and you can find us either on our website at muslimnetwork.tv or on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Muslim Network TV. Today, I have a very exciting episode, and we'll be talking about mental health. Joining us in that discussion is Dr. Jason Branch, a licensed professional counselor for the states of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Alabama, and Georgia. Dr. Branch has more than 15 years of experience in the mental health and counseling profession. He's worked in community agency and mental health centers, city government, and substance abuse treatment facilities. Dr. Branch has maintained a clinical private practice since 2010 that focuses on adults, adolescents, couples, and families. Dr. Branch currently engages in professional and scholarly work focused on African American male experiences, mentoring, multicultural issues, and increasing the practice of self-care for helping professionals. Welcome, Dr. Branch.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. It's such a pleasure to have you here and to talk about such an important subject.
Absolutely. I'm excited about it. This is a huge opportunity. I'm glad to talk about it because I know how important it is. And I think now, especially during the time that we're dealing with, it's a great time to talk about mental health.
Absolutely. I mean, we've had a crazy year that we're calling 2020, and we've seen nationally just how the trends of depression and anxiety has continued to rise. And I'm wondering, are you seeing that in your practice?
Absolutely. The numbers are going up as far as clients, people reaching out, people asking about counseling, people talking about, I've never experienced counseling before. I want to hear about it. What do I do? It's increased a whole lot because of COVID, because of the election, this civil unrest that's going on. It's been those three big issues are part of the reason that a lot of people are responding and reaching out a lot more now than I've seen before.
Absolutely. I can only imagine. I mean, I feel like with each thing that kind of 2020 has thrown at us, you probably were seeing spikes in people reaching out with each thing that kind of overlapped and kind of intertwined us in this year. Like you mentioned, the beginning of our lockdown and isolation, and then with the summer with Black Lives Matter and the protests and that disruption, and then the electoral process, presidential elections. I'm sure that definitely added to your clientele kind of increasing in numbers. What are you seeing as far as people's symptoms as they're coming out and reaching out to you? Are they aware of the symptoms that they're having, or are they describing it as just feeling, how are they describing their symptoms as they come and reach out to you?
Yeah, so many of the clients or potential clients, it varies. Some have no idea. I'm feeling something. I don't know what it is, but I'm feeling something. And they talk to someone. For others, they know it's stress. I'm feeling more stress because of what's going on with the lockdown, with the election, and then anxiety. Anxiety is another one. This election that we had is something we've never seen before, where it took us a few days or maybe a week or so to figure out who our next leader was. And I feel like we're still in that process.
We're still stuck. Yes, there's still a lot of like back and forth about that. Even with what some of us may think is a clear answer, there's still a lot of debate. You're right.
Absolutely. So that request it comes. A lot of people are dealing with different things of how do I manage with this with the coronavirus? How do I manage with this election, not knowing what's going on? And how do I reduce this stress and this anxiety that I'm dealing with, or the behavior changes? I'm drinking a lot more than I usually drink. I'm a little more angry with my children or my spouse than usual. I don't want to go to work. I'm tired of Zoom meetings. So all of these things happen that increase a lot of the clients that's coming in.
Absolutely. There are so many different symptoms and signs that can point to an issue with mental health. You named quite a few of them. And I think that that's really important to note, that there's no one thing that kind of points to it. I know personally, when the lockdown first started, I struggled a lot with maintaining my routine. And that to me was a signal that something was going on, that I was just not feeling like exercising like I used to. I didn't want to socialize. I mean, of course, we weren't able to really socialize, but also just by phone or text, not wanting to respond to people. And so, I want to just kind of highlight what you said, that, these symptoms can be different in different people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You bring up a great point about the routine.
Mm-hmm.
Many of us, we're affected by these things either directly or indirectly. And especially with the coronavirus, it does disrupt the routine. It disrupts the structure. I don't go to work anymore. I'm not driving to work. I'm sitting at home working at a desk. So I'm sitting more than standing. I only go to the grocery store during certain times. I got to wear a mask to the grocery store. There's a lot of changes that happen. And even when you mentioned working out, the gyms are closed. I'm not able to have that physical activity anymore, which changes the dynamics of my day to day.
Exactly. So touching on that, I want to ask you, what does, now that we've kind of talked about what not so good mental health or signs that we may be having some issues with our mental health, what would you say a good mental health picture looks like, if there's such a thing? What would that look like so that people kind of know what the difference would be?
Excellent question. To me, I try not to get into good or bad because it seems it could come off as being judgmental for ourselves.
That's true.
Yes,
that's very true. That's a good point. I always try to not say give a descriptor to things. It's just mental health, right? Yes, that's
absolutely.
True.
Absolutely. So if we're using that, that mentality of what's healthy or unhealthy, what are some things that work for me? So when it comes to describing it, it's finding out what works for you. And oftentimes we're not balanced. We've lost balance. We lost focus and even the structure that you mentioned. So I don't have that. I want to find balance. I want to find, how can I become healthy? How can I become whole? Also, how can I be more authentic? I feel as though when we have those disconnects that happens, it takes away from who we are. So it's finding myself. It's being able to put myself in a position to take care of me. And we know ourselves well enough to know when things are not going right. I love analogies. So how I describe it is, for us with our cars, everything is fine until that check engine light comes on. When that check engine light comes on, we have no idea what's going on, but we know something is going on. So for us, we have a check engine light, and it could be anything from my shoulders being tense, or I get annoyed really quickly, or I'm tired all the time, or being in bed longer than usual. Those are indicators that something may not be going right or well with my life.
I love that analogy. That is a really good analogy. I like that a lot. Going with that analogy, I want to ask, as far as, you mentioned how we check in when our lights come on, right? Our different engine lights come on. How about checking in maintenance? What do we do for maintenance if we think that we might be in a good or balanced mental health state? How do we maintain that, and how do we keep that going without waiting for that check engine light to come on?
I wish we would have that mentality of, how do I do this before the check engine light comes on? And I think a part of it is being mindful, practicing mindfulness, finding out where I am, who I am, and what is it that I need. Many of us have no idea what we need. So if I don't know what I need, how do I pour into that? And for me, what I've created is a simple system to use to start pouring into yourself, to invest into you. And what that's called is the ESPM model for self-care. That's
ESPM.
Yes, okay. ESPM. Emotional, spiritual, physical, and mental. If we're pouring into at least one of those, I would hope all four daily, it's making sure I have enough. My self-care account is replenished enough to deal with the things of everyday life. For many of us, we may only take care of our emotional, may only take care of our physical, or do really well in those areas, but the other areas are not taken care of. So that's how we don't know the check engine light is going until we end up having the doctor's appointment and find out there are other things going on. I went in just for a checkup, and now I'm taking medications for high blood pressure. How did this happen?
Absolutely. And that's a really important point that you touched on, and how our mental health affects other aspects of our life and other parts of our health. I can definitely relate with my patients. A lot of the times when I notice that their blood pressure is continuing to skyrocket and getting out of control, or someone used to have better control of their high blood pressure and suddenly they haven't, or they've been, under a good weight, and then suddenly their BMI has shifted. A lot of the time that triggers for me to ask them, what's going on in your life? What's happening? And that's a good point to make as well, is that if your health is deteriorating, that's also a check engine light.
Yes. So going back to the car analogy, if we have a little slow leak in one of our tires, if we're not noticing it, we keep driving, it's only a matter of time before that tire goes flat. And even when that tire goes flat, we have to be mindful and check those other tires. We don't just focus on one tire and that's it. We have to check on all four. Going back to that model, that's what keeps it simple and easy to check on yourself.
Absolutely. Another thing with my patients that I've found, and in certain populations, that there's a little bit of resistance when it comes to addressing mental health. A lot of I used to see a lot of Arab patients, and I'm sure in different cultures and different backgrounds, there are similar stereotypes or thinking around mental health. But one of the things I noticed is that they didn't like to use the word depression. It was always anxiety or stress, and they would shroud or kind of cover depression by saying that, oh, I just have a little bit of stress. Even if they're on antidepressants, they will say, this is just for my stress. And so I wonder, I'm sure you must experience this kind of pushback or stigmas from different cultural groups as well.
Absolutely. And the stigma ranges. Part of that stigma could be how I view certain words. Mm-hmm. So depression has a connotation to it for some people. I don't want to be perceived in a certain way based off of this diagnosis, based off of this word. So depression, like you mentioned with your patient, that could be one of those words where I don't really like that word, so I don't want to be associated with it. Even the word counseling itself or therapy itself, some people have a belief system about that word. So therefore, I'm not going to counseling, I'm seeing my life coach, or I'm seeing a friend of mine. They may not even use the word. So sometimes it's the word. Also, with cultural differences, there's a lot of cultural aspects of what I was taught, what I've been told, information that I've learned as I was growing up that may be against or not supportive of therapy or counseling. We're supposed to deal with it on our own, or as a spiritual practice or religion. We may use different things to get help, and it's not supported.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. And I want us to move on to talking about how can we push past those barriers and those cultural norms so that we are able to get the help that we need. But before we get to that, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be back. You are watching Muslim Network TV, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Salam alaikum. My name is Adam. You remember me? I appeared in so many episodes that Sound Vision has put on the market. No matter what. Hey, what's happening? Hey, oh, sorry. Lockdown is what it is. Well, continuing here. In this lockdown, Sound Vision never stops thinking about you, the viewer. We'll have to get back into production again, online and inline. Everybody in their own space, even me. Although I'm stuck with Lanisa.
Salam! Salam! Salam!
I know, you were shocked too. Well, let me continue. This is what I was going to say. Salam! 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 Cut! Finally, I get my own screen time again. Thank God. And so we invested in new equipment to bring you even better production with new songs and new singers and animations. Well, here are a few clips. And Sound Vision has brought all this into your home, making Islamic values and teachings easy. And if you know me, Adam, a multi-talented actor, well, sometimes I'm an actor and the reporter and the... Oh, that's enough. Let's move on to the next section. Well, you can watch these new episodes on our new app at www.adamsworldapp.com. We have previews happening every day on Muslim Network TV. Sound Vision has been serving generations, moving and changing with the times. We are all faithfully connected. That is a huge blessing. Your donation helps keep these programs available now and into the future. We take this job of helping tomorrow's Muslims today seriously, and you should too. Today, we need your help. Children absorb and learn from everything they encounter. Make that wholesome, positive, grounded in our faith. Together, we can accomplish our goal of raising better Muslims, better neighbors, and better citizens. Please donate generously. It's an investment in our future. To finish, let me tell you, there are new scripts of my new mission. And it is something that I enjoy talking about. My new mission is space. Houston, we do not have a problem. Salam, see you soon. Me too.
Welcome back to What's Up Doc and Muslim Network TV. And today we're joined by Dr. Jason Branch. Before the break, we were talking about some of the stigmas that might be encountered in different groups, different cultural groups and different backgrounds. And we were going to start talking about what are some of the things that you recommend in order to kind of push past those cultural norms. We talked about with different communities, the wording, right? The wording about how we describe depression. Let's start with that.
Yeah, so I feel as though the first thing we have to do is to become willing to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Oftentimes we're not willing to be uncomfortable. So therefore, how can I get new information or do new things if I only do what's in my comfort zone? So if I'm willing to step outside my comfort zone, that means I'm willing to educate myself or gain more insight or information about what counseling is. Most of the times I'm not interested in counseling because of what I believe about counseling, what I've heard about counseling, but I may not know the facts behind what actually happens in counseling, what goes on in counseling, and is there a counselor that may be a good fit for me? So I think the lack of awareness, the lack of education about it, and just that willingness to step outside your comfort zone to try something new and different.
When you talk about a good fit, that's an interesting way to put it. Are you talking about just how you get along with the counselor? Are you talking about looking them up? What do you mean? Can you describe that a little bit in a little bit more detail?
Sure. So when it comes to us and human connection and interaction, to me, I think it's a great idea for us to find our fit. If you think about dating, relationships, some people you just don't connect with. Employers, employees, your colleagues, some people you just do not connect with. But when it comes to your physical health, your mental health, it's finding someone that you can connect with. So especially when it comes to counseling and your mental health, in counseling, you're going to share a lot of personal information. You're going to dive deep into hidden things that you don't talk about, you haven't shared with anyone, and it's finding someone that you can connect with, that you trust, to divulge this information, to connect with. So I feel as though that connection piece is really important. And sometimes we don't know that we can reach out to a variety of counselors to ask questions to see who would be a good fit.
I'm so happy you said that.
Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I'm so happy you said that. My experience with a lot of patients is they go, just like you say, they go and see one counselor and there's not a good fit. And then they assume that that's going to be forever their experience with counselors and counseling, and they refuse to go again. And so I'm so happy that you mentioned, yes, you do have to do a little bit of legwork to find the right counselor sometimes.
Yes. So if I already have, I'm not really connecting with this person based off of their profile, based off of our first interaction, and I choose to see them anyway, there's already a wall there that I have to get over this wall. I don't really know if I'm feeling this person. I don't know if I'm getting along with this person. So I have to get over that hump to even begin the process of talking about me. So It's very, very important. And we have that choice. If you think about anything that we invest in, we always have a choice. We just don't take advantage of it because we don't know. But now, all the viewers, all the listeners, you have a choice. Find several counselors, interview them, ask them about themselves, find out information about what they do, where they went to school, their interests, their hobbies, learn about them, and you'll know this is somebody I'm really interested in working with.
Or connect with them, exactly.
Absolutely. And it's a small thing. It's a small thing to do this, but oftentimes if I don't know, I'm not going to do anything different. And if I stay in my comfort zone, I'm definitely not going to ask.
So it sounds like knowledge and knowing, empowering yourself with the knowledge of what you are able to do and the choices that you have. That's probably a really big one.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's not one size fits all. And counseling is not this universal thing that, everybody's doing it the same way. Every clinician is different. Every clinician looks different personalities, different style of counseling, different theoretical orientation. But for some of us who are not aware of it, we don't know. So that's why I may pick the first person I see, because I don't know I can pick other people. Also, the awareness of clinicians of color. A lot of us don't know that they are Black clinicians.
Absolutely. Amen. Yes. I mean, I've been there. I agree with you. People walk in, they do a double take, and they're so happy to meet a clinician of color. Exactly. Yes. Absolutely. And it makes a difference. You can connect right away with someone.
Absolutely.
Such a minority. Absolutely. Yes.
We are living and breathing unicorns. Like we're very special people. There's not a lot of us, but that doesn't mean we don't exist. However, if I don't know this person exists, then in my opinion or my belief, they don't exist. So I'm going to settle with someone who may not be a good fit. And just like you mentioned, just that instant connection alone of having someone that may look like you, it changes everything.
Absolutely. Do you find that because of that reason that you have more Black males reaching out to help you, to get help from you?
I'm seeing more Black men, and part of that is because I'm becoming a little more popular, you would say. And this show is really going to help take that to the next level. And part of that popularity, honestly, is just exposure. It's just exposure. More people are seeing Black male therapists. I'm not the only one. There's several, but if I don't see them, then I don't know if they exist. So a lot of Black men are interested in counseling or would consider it if they had someone that looked like them doing the work.
Absolutely. That's really important. The other part that I want to touch on is how to get that kind of help with, as we mentioned, things are starting to, well, things had shut down. They're kind of reopened now, but cautiously reopen. And as the numbers continue to increase, there's this concern that we might have another shutdown. How do people reach out and get help if they're not able to get into our offices?
Okay, so fortunately, with the things that's changing as far as with COVID and working through telehealth, we have telehealth opportunities for people to connect virtually. So Psychology Today is one of the biggest networks of finding therapists. You can log on to www.psychologytoday.com, enter your zip code, and scroll through several therapists. A lot of these therapists offer virtual counseling. If you don't try Psychology Today, there's also apps that's available that you can text, email. You can do synchronous and asynchronous meetings, and that's through Talkspace and BetterHelp. So those are three resources to get that virtual connection, and it keeps you safe. It helps you to practice social distancing, and you can work with anybody within your state.
That's amazing. I've heard of those apps before, actually, and that's really great. I didn't know that you can. I knew that. Well, I'd heard of. I think is it BetterHelp or another one, and they help you with meditation techniques as well, I believe. And I didn't know that you could also find counselors in your area or online that you can kind of do those things with. That's really valuable to be able to have access to mental health when things are shutting down.
Absolutely. And again, that's a part of, if I don't know this stuff exists, then it doesn't. If I don't know about it, it doesn't exist to me. So it's hard to connect or find a therapist if I don't even know the resources to get that information. And I do feel as though with mental health, especially now with social media and the climate that's going on with our community, we're learning more information about counseling and seeing different people talk about counseling more often now than I've ever seen before.
That's amazing. So that's one barrier we can definitely easily get rid of in order to get people the care and help that they need. One thing that I know people struggle with is the financial aspect of getting care. There aren't a lot of good healthcare plans out there that can cover getting mental health, unfortunately. And I wonder if you can speak on that.
Absolutely. So the thing about counseling is it varies from your state, from where you are, and from the therapist. So everyone has their own rates. However, you can ask the therapist about their rates. Is it possible we can negotiate a rate? I see your fees are this amount. I don't have insurance, or I don't want to use my insurance. Can we discuss a rate? Oftentimes we can ask those questions about financial strains or financial hardships and talk to a clinician who's willing to reduce their rates to work with you. Again, it's part of the conversation. If I'm reaching out to different therapists and finding their rates and having a conversation, can you lower your rates? There's a lot of clinicians who offer pro bono services for absolute free.
Wow.
Others do a reduced rate because it's part of our profession and ethical standards of being able to provide services to those who may not be able to get it because of finances. So the opportunities are endless. We have to be willing to step outside our comfort zone and reach out and connect to those about finances.
And I believe that I know that in the beginning of the year when COVID and we were noticing these trends, that there was some free counseling that was offered. Were you a part? Do you know about that, or were you offered to be a part of that?
Absolutely. I offer free counseling. I usually have a few slots available for clients to see me for absolutely free. A lot of the services that were offered telemental health for the first time would do a certain amount of sessions for free. So it varies from place to place, person to person, but you do not have to spend an arm and a leg to get counseling services. Mm-hmm. You have to stretch and reach out to find those who are willing to see you where you are financially.
Of course. Another thing that I want to also mention is using your employer benefits. Sometimes I didn't realize that I had access to something called EAP, Employee Assisted. I'm forgetting what the P stands for. I don't know if you know.
Programs. Employee assistant programs.
Yes. And so that included free, I think it was like 8 sessions a year, and that included both for your own mental health, for marital issues, for couples, things like that. And so definitely look into your benefits. It may not be part of your health insurance plan, but it might be part of your employer's plan that they offer you mental health.
I'm glad you brought that point up, because oftentimes we don't know about the EAP, and we're paying for health insurance and have resources available to connect with counselors, but we don't know. We're not asking those questions. So I think it's great that you bring that point up, and we can take advantage of those counseling services offered by our job. Also, when we're doing telemental health, being able to connect with people and talk to them to find out what they do, their rates, and reimbursement. Some clinicians that do self-pay, such as myself, I do self-pay, but a lot of clients are able to get reimbursed through their insurance with an invoice. So that's another option that you can use, where you may pay a copay. You don't have to pay full price.
Absolutely. I'm so happy that we are discussing all of these options for our viewers to be able to look into, because it's not always easy, and it's a little bit difficult to navigate. Even personally, when I look at my insurance plan, it's gibberish even to me, and I've been, I'm a doctor as well, so it's hard to imagine the average person. So I'm glad that we're able to review some of these options.
Yes, real quick. And in addition to that, as you were mentioning, like, looking at insurance, it can be really difficult to understand and see. And we can take out the guesswork by sharing that insurance information with your potential provider. Ask them. They know about insurance way more than we do. So ask that provider.
They need to get paid. So.
Yes. Yes.
They need to know.
Yeah. So take advantage of that. We don't have to do all the guesswork, because insurance is difficult to understand for some of us. So ask the expert about insurance.
Absolutely. Well, we've been talking a little bit more about just individuals with depression and anxiety, but I want to talk a little bit about couples. A lot of people have been stuck with their partners. And so that, of course, I was reading a statistic about the divorce rate and also the baby boom, but, so it kind of means both ways.
Yeah, COVID doesn't stop everything. It can't stop everything.
That's right. That's right. So tell me a little bit about what you're seeing with respect to couples coming in and some of the issues and how you're guiding them.
Okay, so the couples has increased a lot. Marital discourse, the strain for a lot of couples. I'm sorry, for some couples, I can't say a lot, but for some couples is, I never knew my husband, and now that we're in these close quarters, I really get to know this guy, and I don't know if I like who this man is. Or
something to talk about.
yes, the complete opposite. Where my wife, I thought she was this, but I'm seeing something else. So a lot of people start coming in to talk about themselves or their partner, because we're spending a lot more time with each other than normal, and it brings up a lot of things that we usually don't have to deal with. Plus, we have distractions not to have to deal with our partner 24/7.
Absolutely. So what kind of guidance do you give them as far as how to reconnect maybe, or to connect if they really weren't connected with their partners? How maybe you're giving advice about space, telling them to set boundaries. What kind of things are you sharing with them?
Excellent question. And honestly, as a therapist, I got to speak the truth. We do not give advice. That's not our job. Because if I give you advice for your marriage today, I'm going to have to give you advice for your marriage for the rest of your marriage.
That's not how it works?
No, absolutely not. So as a couple, though, that couple is the expert of their marriage. They know what goes on in and outside of their home, within their marriage. So it's more helping the couple help themselves. What is it that I need individually? What is it that we need collectively? And then providing education and resources to help them see things from a different perspective, not telling them what to do. That's the last thing I want to do, is tell somebody what to do. Because what happens if they listen to me and it works? Guess who they're coming back to see? Me. But what happens if they listen to me and it doesn't work? Guess who they're going to blame? Me.
You.
I am not taking ownership of nobody else's stuff.
That's fair. That's really fair. And that's a good point. A lot of people do think that they can get their answers from their counselors, right? They think that that's what it is I'm confused about this decision. I'm going to go talk to a counselor, and they're going to tell me what to do. And that's a really important point, is that you're not a magic 8-ball. You're not, you can't tell the future. You can only help them with whatever information they give you in order for them to make the best decision for themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's part of the hindrance that we have is I'm looking outside to get answers of what's going on inside. Mm-hmm. That's not going to work.
That's not going to work. That's a bad idea. Well, that's a good point. Now, I want to go back a little bit when we talked about the different apps, and I was telling you how I thought some of them were meditation apps. And so I would like to talk a little bit about the different techniques that we can use if you use any in your sessions, like deep breathing or things like that. Can you share a little bit about what you tell your clients?
So my theoretical orientation is CBT, which is called cognitive behavior therapy. And that perspective to me, good, excellent.
Yeah, I always recommend it, and it's not easy to find a lot of people who are skilled at performing that. So that's great.
Absolutely. And for me, it makes sense. And the simple version of it is our thoughts are the reasons behind our behaviors. So if I want to change my behavior, I have to change my thoughts first. In order for me to change my thoughts, I have to get new information. I have to change the story I've been telling myself or telling other people in order for me to begin that process of making those shifts. So for me as a clinician, I'm constantly pushing, challenging, providing new information, providing a different perspective, and being able to get beneath the surface. A lot of times we just offer the surface information, but what's underneath that surface? So I'm constantly diving in, I'm pushing, I'm making you uncomfortable, you're squirming in your chair, and I love it.
That's how you know you're doing your job. If people are not squirming, then you're not doing your
I'm not working hard enough. I'm not working hard enough.
That's a great principle. It sounds a lot easier than it probably is to get people to really self-reflect and really be honest about some of the things that they their worldview maybe, or their self-view even.
Actually, it's harder than you may think. It's a lot harder because I
meant that. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
It sounds easier than it is.
Yes, it does sound easy. All I got to do is change my thoughts. No, we're talking about thoughts that you've held on to for years, 20, 30, 40, 60 plus years. And it's hard to change those thoughts. And I think that's the idea oftentimes. If I see a therapist, I'll make a few adjustments, I'll make changes. But as long as it took for us to get in these situations, sometimes it can take as long or longer to get out of those situations. So it's a process and it takes work, a lot of work. And the clients that I've noticed who are the most successful are the ones willing to do the work on themselves, because there's only one person that you can control or change, and that's you.
Absolutely. As someone who has had years of therapy, I have no shame in admitting that is something that I hear a lot, is you cannot control anybody's thoughts or actions but your own. And that's really important to take ownership and address that. So thank you for repeating what I've heard over so many years.
Yeah, and I'm a therapist that go to therapy too, so that makes two of us.
There you go. Well, let's continue this conversation. We're just gonna take a short break here. And you're watching What's Up, Doc on Muslim Network TV. We'll be back in a few minutes.
My wife, she's a professor at the University of Cincinnati, who's Catholic, and by her watching and listening to our 3-year-old son watch Adam's World, she ended up taking Kalima Shahada. She embraced Islam because she learned so much about Islam and the other prophets. It really affected our life in a great way, and because of Sound Vision and Adam's World, we're Muslims.
I took my Shahada 15 years ago, and I actually am from a rural part of Ohio. And so I found the catalog for Sound Vision, and I ordered the tapes and the CDs and the books, and I used those, and especially for my little daughter, that's how we basically learned our Islam, and Islam entered our hearts through the wonderful works of Sound Vision.
Okay, assalamu alaikum, brother. I just want you to know that I love the Sound Vision website, that a lot of times when I'm looking for information, especially as it relates to homelessness, domestic violence, and women issues, I go to that website, and then I see what you've written, and then I copy and paste it and spread the word, because the wisdom is there. So I can't do any better than what Sound Vision has already done.
Sound vision is our survival guide. It is the organization that provides skills for Muslims how to survive and thrive in this community here in the US.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Anam, I'm in 11th grade, and I grew up with Adam's World, and what it taught me was unity, respect, and love for the Muslim Ummah.
Adam's World is the greatest show ever made. Take me to the Kaaba, man. I love that puppet.
Assalamu alaikum.
Open up your eyes.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, it's your brother Zain Bika from South Africa. One of the first educational programs ever produced for Muslim children was the ever popular Adam's World series. The colorful and comical Muslim puppets stole the heart of a generation. Sound Vision will be releasing brand new episodes of Adam's World with the launch of a Adam's World app. Subscribers will enjoy new Adam's World episodes as they are released, as well as all the classic episodes of Adam's World. So visit adamsworldapp.com now to learn more, subscribe and enjoy new adventures of Adam and his friends. And let's keep helping tomorrow's Muslims today. Assalamu alaikum.
Adam's World. Believe me, there's a lot to see. Bismillah. Let's explore.
Hi, and welcome back to What's Up Doc on Muslim Network TV. I'm your host, Dr. Aalia Al-Barwani, and today we've been talking about mental health with Dr. Jason Branch. So before the break, Doc, talking about the importance of cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and how that's something that you use in your practice to help people to kind of challenge their views and their you said their views and just how they see them. Is that right?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay.
So using,
let's go into that.
Yes. So using CBT, this is just one theoretical orientation, doesn't cover all, but oftentimes a lot of us are stuck. We're stuck in relationships, we're stuck in jobs, we're stuck in different phases in our life that we can't get out of. We're not able to find a way out. And I think a part of that is due to holding on to beliefs and ideas that no longer work for us. We've outgrown certain things, people, and places, but for whatever reason, we feel like we're a tree and we can't move. The truth is we are not trees. We can leave and move at any time. But how do I do that if I don't challenge myself? How do I do that if I don't become more exposed and aware to new and different things? So it keeps us stuck when we're not willing to do the work to move out of our own way.
And how do you get people to see that? How do you get people to understand that the growth only happens outside of their comfort zone? can you share a little bit? I don't want us to go into a whole session here, but just a little bit for people at home to realize that they may be stuck. What kind of things do you point out to them?
Self-awareness. Self-awareness is one of the biggest things. I feel as though we're not spending enough time being our authentic self. We spend a lot of energy with external things, work, my kids and school and all these different things. And we're not looking internal. And I feel as though our gut, our heart, our authenticity oftentimes is trying to scream and speak out, but we continue to suppress it. So it's diving deep. What's going on with me? What is it that I need? What's important to me? What is it that I value? Instead of what does other people think of me? What do they value? What do they want to do? It's spending more time getting to know yourself. And that can be really scary for a lot of people because I haven't spent time with me. And that's part of, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I said absolutely. I'm totally agreeing with you. That's so important. I'm just really excited that you're sharing this because it's not true. A lot of people don't know enough about themselves because they don't want to spend time with themselves. You know, a lot of people are always interacting with other people, always either listening to something or but not checking in with themselves, which we touched on earlier is, you know, you can't flow out and help other people or be a part of something else unless your cup is full, unless you've checked in with yourself and you know that you're in a good space. And that's really important. Yes,
absolutely, because you cannot pour from an empty cup, but we try every day.
Exactly. And I think part of that is, as someone who has struggled with that in the past, and it may be my Middle Eastern background or that, you know, we like to continue to give, and we often forget to check in and see what it is that we need ourselves before we can give. And that leads to setting boundaries, how important it is to set boundaries and realize that first you have to check in with yourself and make sure that you're in a good space to help other people. And if you're not, knowing how to say no when you can't give. I think that's something that a lot of us struggle with because, just like you said, we worry about how we are perceived rather than caring about or worrying more about how we're doing. And that's really important.
Absolutely. It's hard. It's really hard work because if I've been living a certain way for so long, thinking about myself kind of goes against everything that I believe. So for a lot of the listeners, I want you to ask yourself, when was the last time that you did something for you and only you?
Absolutely. Self-care. That's so important. That's so important.
Yes. And oftentimes, even with self-care, we do the same routine. I get my nails done, get my hair done, I get a massage, and that's it. But it's more to self-care than the weekend or when you're on vacation. You can practice self-care every single day.
Absolutely. What are some examples? I mean, we have a lot of different viewers, and some people say that they don't have time. What are some things that you say that you can fit this in your day? What are some things that you would say?
First of all, we don't make time for ourselves. We got time for everyone and everything else but us. How come I'm not allowing myself to spend time with me? We work a job, you choose to work a job 40, 60, 80 hours a week. You choose to do these things, but you don't choose it for yourself. I think it's important for us to start changing that belief. Again, I mentioned that about what I'm able to spend time with. So how can I start practicing taking care of me is spending time with yourself. Being able, as you mentioned, saying no, setting healthy boundaries, and doing things that brings joy to me, my heart, my soul, my life, my physical, my mental, my emotional. What am I doing daily to pour into those areas of my life?
Absolutely. I love that. Finding joy in the everyday rather than waiting for your next vacation or waiting for the weekend. If you can find that, then overall you'll live a happier life because you're not waiting for that joy. You found it in your day to day.
I agree. And for me, like, I share this because I practice it now. So every day I got to find a ways, how can I pour into that ESPM? And it took years. I haven't perfected it, and I don't think we ever will perfect it, but I take care of myself now more than I ever have before, and I give of myself more now than I ever have before.
Well, the first step is self-awareness, is understanding. So if we can at least pass that message on today, that the first step is to be aware that there is more, and that you need to do a little bit of self-reflection in order to really understand who you are and what brings you joy.
Yes, and one of the biggest ways to get that self-awareness is therapy. Talking to someone, non-biased opinion, that, you know, they don't have a dog in the fight. They're there to listen. It's confidential. It's not family. That's one of the first places that you can go to start processing and unpacking those things from the past.
Exactly. Before we wrap up, I do want us to touch on, this is, you know, the holidays are coming, and outside of everything that's been going on that we've said this year, it's usually a hard time for people anyway, dealing with extended family. Some people who don't have families, dealing with that loneliness around the holidays. So there is already a complex mental health situation around the holidays. What would you say for our viewers today as we move into the holiday season and we're having to distance and not be with our family?
Excellent question. I think the first thing is perspective. A lot of perspective. We have to be mindful of our normal traditions, and we may not be able to practice those normal customs and traditions because of COVID-19. So it's finding or creating new traditions, new ways to do things.
Yes.
Even if you're spending time by yourself, how can I still connect with people virtually? With family, using apps and social media to connect with family, meeting virtually, eating turkey virtually, or whatever you choose to eat. Finding new ways to create new traditions. And I just want to big shout out to my family. We created a new tradition where we're using an app called Marco Polo. It's like video texting. So we do video text messaging, and then we meet as a family once a month to just check on each other. We've never done that before, but it's a new. Yes, it's a new tradition, and it works for us. It keeps us connected.
Absolutely. Similarly, our family we've started doing weekly Zoom meetings, and my family is scattered everywhere, and we've not been able to travel and be with each other. So we're doing that. I know some families are also doing drop-offs where certain families will I'm making all the stuffing, I'm making the chicken, and then they'll go to different family houses and just drop it off at their doorstep so everyone can have a complete meal to enjoy with their family.
Yes, for the times that we're living in, we have to make adjustments. We can still get our needs met. It's just we may do it in a different way. And that's important, to be okay with doing things in a different way.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Branch. I really enjoyed our discussion today. I think that we have been able to talk about a lot of things that are really important with regards to mental health in 2020, a year that we could not have foreseen.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you, and thank you. I wish you all the success in your career.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on another episode of What's Up, Doc. You can watch our other episode on our YouTube page at youtube.com/Muslim Network TV and on our website, muslimnetwork.tv. I'm your host, Dr. Aalia Al-Barwani, and I'll see you at our next episode.